know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
For the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
The World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Hello, one, and hello, all. Thank you for tuning in for another edition of the Rights and Wrongs Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is your host, Mr. Green, and we are going into yet another week, and apparently getting down to the last of this, 4 or 5 months ago of tapings that WoW did. So, we have two more episodes before, as of me recording this, 2 more episodes before they start rotating out into their new stuff, new set, new people, the new faces, some of which I'm already kind of hesitant about, but I guess we'll get to that when we get to that. How are you all? Thank you for tuning in. I do appreciate your time and your effort and listening to this podcast and joining me as we go through week in and week out of WoW's material. I, as you know, if you listen to this, try to be as fair about it as I can. Sometimes the matches are good. Oftentimes the show is bad. But we cover it all. And along with that, we do a little bit of pro wrestling news as it relates to some of the women before we get into the bulk of the show. And it's, as normal, it'll be a doozy. So let's get to the news, views, and updates. And then we will carry on with the remainder of the review. So, where shall we start here, ladies and gentlemen? If you are a female wrestling fan, one thing that you may be interested in knowing about is the Sherry Martel Classic taking place in Reality of Wrestling. When is that supposed? End of this month, September 29th. And I really wish I could get out there. I'd been wanting to go to a Reality of Wrestling show live for a while, but I haven't made any travel plans to get to Houston. I think they're just a little bit outside of Houston. But I just never made any plans to get out there. But I think I am going to have to put this on my calendar. If this is an annual event, I am certainly going to make my best efforts to get out there and see the Sherry Martel Classic. For me, I guess it would have to be the 2025. But what they are doing right now is the 2024 Classic. And they have been announcing competitors for that particular tournament. It will be, as far as they have released, it'll be a 12-woman single night elimination tournament to crown the next Sherry Martel champion, which I would imagine is probably much like a Super Bowl trophy or something like that. Just not a defendable title, but something that you get annually. But let's go through some of the names of the announcees so far. 1. You got Hollywood Haley J. I believe she was the first name announced. So bravo to her. And notice she's Hollywood Haley J, not Holly Swag. Good on her for that. And also, I don't think that being Holly Swag there, even if it was legal, that probably wouldn't be good for that audience. The next name that is up, Jasmine Allure. Notice that these 2 names are names that have participated in WoW. I guess that's, to be expected from time to time. The third name announced is one of Reality of Wrestling's regular faces, Shiva, who at this point I am going to I'm going to put the money on. You know, that, and me saying that without knowing who the other 8 are. I only know 4 right now. And the last one that has been announced at this point is Alex Garcia. And we have a few more names to go. Let's see who else is going to be a part of this. But as it is right now, I would say it's shaping up to be a pretty reasonable tournament. Everybody there is pretty well versed in being in the ring. Some of them are very well traveled. You got your powerhouse with Shiva. Kind of tiny but feisty in Hollywood, and Jasmine Allure has been, you know, along with Garcia, a pretty accomplished and quick competitor in the ring. So I think that might be interesting to see how they do in there. I don't know if they're matched up or not, but again, ultimately, I'm interested in seeing the tournament. I hope I get the opportunity to see it one way or the other. The other thing, this isn't tournament related, but apparently Reality of Wrestling has crowned their first ever women's tag team champions. That's right. They are adding in women's tag team champions. So the claim on being the best female tag team, the pool has gotten deeper. So it's going to be interesting. I hope that they can actually make something of this. I really do. There is a point on the WPN Instagram page where I'd gone through and I'd posted up several kind of forgotten ladies tag teams throughout the years, because we don't really get a chance to celebrate them as often as we do the male counterparts. You know, we know about the Dudley Boys and Harlem Heat and the Hart Foundation and the Rock and Roll and the Legion of Doom and Demolition, and you know, you can go on and on and on right up to now, the Usos, the New Day, the Rascals. You know, there are teams that are just, you know them as teams. We don't really have a lot of that with the women, but I hope that does change. I hope they're giving incentive to change that. However, the team that won the tag team tournament, Jada Stone, The Spark, and Maya World, they are the Reality of Wrestling Women's Tag Team Champions. So good on them. And I think they have their first defense listed September 14th at Reality of Wrestling's Gold Rush. So that is the event preceding the Sherry Martel Classic. Now, I would assume them being the tag team champions of the promotion, I would assume that they would be involved in the event, not necessarily the tournament itself, but as another match of sorts that might take place. I hope so. And I hope, putting it out into the universe, I hope that that is posted somewhere, or at least accessible through some sort of video means. Who knows? But we will see. We will see. Moving on. What else did we have that was going on into the... Oh, I had my list here. I forgot. I gotta go into that. As you know, going into this next season of WoW, there's several new names that are going to be on their roster. Now, before I even begin reading these, I'm just going to tell you I'm not pleased with them, because they're just doing the same thing. And somebody wrote in one of the Reddit pages, like, Dave McClain's ideas, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He's been doing this for years, decades at this point, where he just finds, people that will audition, as stated in this particular post, comedians, athletes in other sports, actresses, models, almost anything else but wrestlers. And this is no different. He's got a group of young ladies that have signed to WoW who largely are only trained through WoW. And I'm going to give the names of at least 7 of them. And I think 2 have wrestled outside of that, out of the 7. So let's just go down just really quickly. And I know that this month, their year's worth of taping. For those who didn't know, apparently the taping schedule of WoW has changed slightly. Last year, it was almost like every quarter. About every 3 months or so, they would go through another set of taping. So even though we were seeing video current week to week, the actual event that they shot it at might have been 3 or 4 months back. Like right now, they're still showing stuff, featuring the Tonga twins. But they clearly have left. It just isn't acknowledged on TV. But anyhow, so all of these people that I am mentioning right now have already shown up and probably did their deal with WoW. And I stand corrected. I'm going to say 3 out of the 7 that I'm naming. So here we go. Tadevik. I don't know if she's going by Tadevik the gamer anymore, so we'll just go with Tadevik. She is returning to WoW. As best I can tell, her wrestling aspirations pretty much ceased when she stopped working with WoW. So I'm going to include her into the group of people who probably don't do all that much outside of WoW's universe. And we go to the dumb names. Veronica Varoom. Also somebody that's straight for WoW. Xena Phoenix. The name is better, but also somebody that's straight from WoW. Sprout Greens, which I've already talked about that as the dumbest goddamn name I have heard. The look is stupid. I mean, you talk about reasons to change the channel. That's one of them right there. I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope that they get on there and she just kills it or something, or they can justify it somehow, but I just do not know how they would be able to do that. J-Rod, who has wrestled on the independent circuit for some time, including an OVW, showed up in a while. I think the final week of taping she was there, which I really don't understand the point of that. Now, the more I think about their taping schedule, the more stupid I think it is. Because the way I figure it, if she's there, if they go in order, we're not going to see her till probably August or September of next year. And then if she was presented as someone who is new to the WoW roster and joining them, well, they got to hope that she hasn't done anything else in this entire year's time to proceed with it. Like, how do you even plan to have an angle with somebody, assuming that she did, or she probably didn't because they don't do angles well. But let's just say for the sake of argument that she was involved in an angle. How do they even keep that up if the angle didn't conclude right then? Which, again, WoW is pretty much known for. They started angles right in the middle of the angle. But anyhow, that's just me getting on their taping schedule. I'm sure I will talk about that more at length at some, going forward. Valentina Diamante, who also seems to be somebody who is just a straight WoW trainee. And let me be clear, because sometimes they get these people that come in and they will surprise and they'll do better than expected or whatever the case may be. My hopes are just low, or my expectations are just low. I hope some of them prove me wrong. I really do, but my expectations are low. Emma Diaz, Carolina Cruz, who I think, what is she going by? Something Speed. I can't remember her name right off the top of my head. I think it's. Now I gotta scroll through here. Find this person all over again. Catalina Speed. Something. Good God. Yeah, Catalina Speed, which looks like it's a race car gimmick. I don't know how that's gonna work. And Amari Miller, who I believe was a former WWE wrestler, although she might not have been prominently featured. So between Diaz, Miller, and J-Rod, you've got 3 that are coming in there with prior experience. The rest of them, I don't know. I just I have a bad feeling about a lot of them. But I will try to reserve that until we get to the actual showing of that. And who knows? Maybe I'll be surprised. Jacqueline Moore, Miss Jackie, Miss Texas, Miss Tennessee, whatever name that you may know her as, has signed a WWE Legends contract. Congratulations to her. Overall, if I remember the Legends contract correctly, it essentially means that they will be paid to allow the company to continue to use their likeness. Whether that be in video games, action figures, merchandise, t-shirts, posters, whatever the case may be. Same thing with Victoria or Lisa Marie, depending, how you know her as well. She was offered, and she posted on Instagram her, getting not offered. I think she had gotten a phone call and she told the people that she was with at the time. She just got offered a Legends contract. And the same deal, it's another means to, earn your living in your retirement years, I guess, without having to do much else. They just allow them to continue to use your name and your likeness in whatever medium that they choose to do. So, congratulations to them. What else did we have here? There seemed to be so much stuff that was going on. Just as a side note, some people that listen to this know that my real life job is I work at a television hub. A lot of different networks feed in and out of this hub. I happen to be in a CBS adjacent hub. And because of that, I was able to watch WoW pretty regularly. Now, that's not to say that WoW was on CBS. Let me be clear, because I know there was some talent that was on that roster, probably still some to this day, that run around telling people, I'm on CBS. No. WoW does not air on CBS. WoW airs on CBS affiliated products, if you want to call it that. But they're like on the, if you have an antenna, you scan your channel and you get like, all right, this channel 46.2, 46.3, and so on and so forth. They're on that. Those are largely considered independent channels. Now, they have connections and ties to the Paramount Global Network. Paramount Global Network is what syndicates the program out to those stations. So there is a connection, but it is not a direct line to CBS. If they were on CBS, they would be there like right alongside shows like The Neighborhood and Papa's House and FBI and NCIS and stuff like that. Those are CBS products. Those are CBS shows. Big Brother, Survivor, those things. If you're not there, you ain't on CBS. That's why it drives me up the goddamn wall when they're like, I got interviewed by CBS News. No, got interviewed by a CBS News affiliate in your local market. That's what you got interviewed by. If it was on CBS News, I would know it. I would have seen the commercials. Because I'm there 5 days out of the week. I'd have seen it. So anyhow, I just had to get out. The point being, we have now gone into the beginning of the fall season for TV, and a lot of programs have been swapped in and out. Some shows that are not swapped out have been moved in time slot, if not removed altogether. Like I can tell you now, the room was upset when we lost Family Guy and Bob's Burgers and some of the other little ancillary shows that we would watch that would keep us entertained overnight. But we got a bunch of other crap that has come in. I shouldn't call it that. But anyway, Entertainment Tonight and Inside Edition and stuff like that. The point I'm getting to here is that WoW was not exempt from that in some markets. Now, whereas it has not been removed, it has been shuffled a few times in a few of the markets that I was paying attention to. And some of those shuffles were a big change. Some of them were minor. But it looks like they were shuffled nevertheless. The question now becomes, is this going to be a regular thing? Because there are two factors that have fed into this. One, most of those stations going into football season have begun to air local games, whether that be NFL games, whether that be HBCU, whether that be their local high school football game, whatever. They have other events that are within their area that they have begun to broadcast. And those things carry a high priority for those stations, which means anything that is of low priority gets bumped. The news will always air in full. Well, in most cases, like 9 out of 10 times, if the news comes on after that, it might slide in time, but it's going to air in full. But what that means is that when you cause a domino effect like that, some show has to suffer for it. Some show either has to be cut into in the middle of their broadcast or gotten rid of altogether. WoW happened to be that show for a few markets, one of which is the one that I watched, WPSG, that's in Philly. With the HBCU game airing, it bumped WoW back several hours. How long? About an hour or two. But the re-air of WoW, for no real reason that I can see other than they just wanted it on in the day, was changed from a nighttime airing to an afternoon airing. It went from being on at 11 p.m. to 5 p.m. in the afternoon on Sunday. Is that inherently bad? No. But it's not like they made some sort of announcement about it either. You know what I mean? Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to remain there. And again, it's not that, it's not a across the board thing. But several of them have been bumped or moved or changed time slots and this, that, and the other. So you may notice some of that depending on where you are. I know in Pittsburgh, they just moved it back 30 minutes. Used to start off at 11:30, now it comes on at 12. In New York, it came on at like 1 o'clock in the morning. I think it moved back in LA back to 12 o'clock. And so on and so forth. It's a bunch of different markets that have done that. So the first thing being is that it may cause some problems for people that are watching that. And I am going to pay attention to it. But as of right now, I know that their Sunday broadcast in Philly has basically replaced WoW with the neighborhood. I said when this began, if they do not do reasonable ratings, they're going to be considered expendable. This is what I said at the start of this. Was that 2 seasons ago, 2 years? If they don't do something well with it, it's going to be considered expendable programming. And they will get just as much money into that station because that's what it's about. They will get just as much money into that station running reruns of a sitcom than they will with WoW. And they've been running these episodes of The Neighborhood for about a year. And they probably still get something off of it more so than what they would do there because more people pay attention to it. So, I don't know if the WoW office listens to me, but but if they do, you cannot say that I didn't warn you. This is what I'm talking about. So, and look, I'm doing research across the markets, but this is what it's come down to. They have pushed it back an hour. I think it came on at 1 o'clock. Can't remember the exact time frame. But the time slot that it previously occupied is gone. And across the room, in most places, is either been pushed back an hour or so or just bumped to the middle of the day on the weekend. So you may have to look for it. You may have to put it on your DVR. You may have to search for it again. I don't know, but there you have it. Now that also will bring to mind the old question of who is WoW producing this content for? Because there's no happy medium with WoW and how they produce. If it's on in the afternoon at 5, as it was in Philadelphia, that's like kid hours. And what they do right now is perfectly fine for that, if you're aiming towards kids. But then you got an area like New York, where it comes on at 1 o'clock in the morning. And there are no kids that should be watching that show at 1 a.m. Or very few. The demographics of the audience change. And there's not much in the WoW that would maintain somebody watching that week to week for an adult. There's not a lot of engagement that goes on in there. But maybe their next season will prove differently. Perhaps. I just thought it would be, nice to share that with, you people that are listening right now. If you happen to look at it and it doesn't seem like it's in the same spot, well, there's a reason for that. And that's it. The new fall season has kicked in. A lot of programming has changed out. New programming is coming in, and they're trying to make room for that. Football, other sports, mostly local sports, are starting to filter in, which means that when they're on the air, it's going to go into those ancillary channels like that. So they have a lot that they are fighting against to maintain that. Lastly, Shayna Baszler has signed a new deal with the WWE. Good for her. Apparently it was set to expire this year and she's now re-signed. I didn't not know that Shayna Baszler is 44. She looks great. And she wrestles great. That's the most important thing. But she is re-signed according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful. She is she stayed in the good graces of the WWE. And, I don't see why not, especially when they have been a little bit more loose with their rules. And that she's gotten the chance to show up at GCW and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it's fantastic. If anybody should make a trip to TNA, it should, she's one of them. She needs to go and challenge Grace for the Knockouts Championship. That would be great. I'd love to see that. Now, a little note and another little suggestion for the WoW management. I noticed this before, and once I said it the first time, it seemed to have gotten fixed. So maybe somebody heard me, so I'm gonna do it again. Some TV IDs that WoW airs on needs to be updated. I don't know who pushes out your information. I don't know if that comes directly from the WoW office. I don't know if that's something that they allow Paramount Global to do. And by that, I mean, if you say go on a website and it's reading the information for what WoW is. Like, you have a TV station and they have playing now and they put up the little guide. Like in that, they'll tell you what the show's about and, you'll see the logo or thumbnail or something like that. One, their logo is still their old logo. Two, it reads as if AJ Mendez is still involved with WoW. That should be changed. Because at this point, what has it been, a year since she's been there? He probably should address that with somebody somewhere sometime. Is it as big of a deal to their company overall? Probably not. But they should at least make sure that the information that's going out like that, they may not have known. I can't expect them to look at every little piece of information that WoW produces. But if they have the ability to do that. And if they are paying attention, I would suggest that you go and check that out, update the information, make sure that the thumbnails that are being fed out, the metadata that you have attached to WoW and its broadcast in its various markets are uniformed, the logo is uniformed, and the information is uniformed. I know I don't have any say-so in the company. I know y'all don't want to listen to me, but that's just my suggestion. Do with it what you will. And did I say lastly already? I did. So I renege on that. Let me just say this one thing because I skipped over this. Apparently, Tessa Blanchard, according to Chelsea Green, well, I'm going to credit Chelsea with the naming what Tessa's doing as the Redemption Tour. The question here is it a bust or is it a success? I am of the belief that second chances are needed. However, having said that, I think that if you're going to get a second chance, you have to acknowledge that a problem existed in the first place. If you cannot do that, then you probably are not ready for a second chance. You can't be an alcoholic and say, I really want the job again after being fired for alcoholism and never admit, well, I don't have a drinking problem. If that doesn't take place, then those persons know that there's no growth there. Chelsea's statement, and I'm not going to read it verbatim, but Chelsea's statement as it related to Tessa Blanchard was, the hallmark statement was, an apology goes a long way. It's good for accountability. And I would agree. If you haven't done that and you're insisting that everybody is just making stuff up, then there's no change that can be made because you don't acknowledge anything that went wrong to begin with. And it's a shame that she has that reputation that has pretty much preceded her, that she's difficult to work with, she's a problem child and all that stuff, because she was very talented in the ring. Now, say what you will, and we can say that about a lot of wrestlers. There's some people who have just been problem children, but they were talented in the ring. She apparently is one of those people that she's a problem child, but she's very talented. She may have given, if we're going with WoW, she may have given the Beast some of the best matches that she's had. But, again, if that is not acknowledged, then I would tend to agree with the most of the promoters that just we're not ready for that. Now, that's not to say that there will not be promotions out there that will not take her in. Of course there will be, because there's always a promoter out there that's willing to take the chance, regardless of what you did. James Ellsworth, who just was an absolute creep when his behind the scenes ventures, we'll call it that, was exposed from the young lady that I think she was underage at the time. When that got exposed, somebody booked him. Somebody rebooked Joey Ryan. So, Marty Scurll, there's plenty of them out there who are more or less been blacklisted, but they got rebooked somewhere. There's always a promoter out there that's willing to book you, regardless of what your issues were. The question is it going to be a promotion that's worth anything that'll get them somewhere, or show that they still in a top name or whatever the case may be? Tessa currently wrestles, I believe, for CMLL. Just won the tag team championships. I forget the young lady that she won it with. So she is working, and I know some people like, well, she shouldn't be wrestling in Mexico. Look, that's a whole different country. She's willing to leave the country and go wrestle out there and, let her do it, because I'm pretty sure that whatever happened here, they either not aware of, don't care about, or all of the above. Here, that would be a different issue, but, I mean, come on. It'd be like saying if she went to Japan, like, oh, that she should never do that. Look, they probably have no idea of any of that. But if she wants to be here and be in one of the top companies again, that redemption tour is going to have to include apologies, most likely. Whether that happens or not, time will tell. I will say this one thing as it relates to her. It is the one thing that I have somewhat changed my mind about. The story that went out that got her booted out of WoW apparently was her being mean in a promo class. The report had said that she was yelling at Samantha Sage. Now I know some of you right now like, who the hell is Samantha Sage? I don't know no Samantha Sage. Well, yes you do. Samantha Sage is Americana. And that apparently was the straw that broke the camel's back as it related to, hey, we don't really need you here or want you here or whatever the case may be. But, and I only say this on the outside looking in, but if this was a case of her yelling at somebody in a promo class and it was her, this I cannot prove. Okay? I cannot prove this. But I can only imagine if how she emotes, cuts a promo, does anything verbal on camera is now. I can only imagine how tough it was hard to deal with in practice, because it ain't gotten much better. I'm sorry, America. It just hasn't. It has not gotten much better. So that right there alone is would probably be enough of a reason that I would think that somebody would be, because you do get frustrated. Sometimes like, are you not getting this? What are you, deaf? Jesus Christ. Sometimes you do get frustrated. Now, does that mean that you should be yelling at somebody or jumping down their throat? No, it doesn't. But to use the Chris Rock line, I understand. Not saying you should do it, but I understand. And we will leave it off of that. I think that is enough of the news right now, because I'm sure there's going to be plenty of it that's going to keep coming. Especially with the crossovers that's taking place, the signings that's been taking place. There's just a lot of stuff that's going on in the wrestling world. Bravo to all of those young ladies out there in their various aspirations and career growth. Now, this is the point where I take a little break, and when we come back, it is time to go into the review. Alrighty, it is now time for the episode review, and this episode is episode seasonally 251. Chronologically, this is the 100th and 3rd, or 103. That's 103 episodes into WoW's run here. The title, Bills versus Belts, and the air date, August 31st. I did put a episode note at the top of my notes overall to say that in the match that was promoted in the press release was swapped out. Originally, as it was listed, so I can only assume that was the original lineup. They were supposed to show Animal Instinct versus the Tonga Twins, but that seems to be replaced with Katarina Jinx versus Genesis. I don't know who's the heel or the babyface there. I just assume they dragged it out of the Wild Vault and just stuck it in there for, whatever purposes they may choose. So, the show begins with the Fabulous Four coming out the ringside. Immediately, Dave McClain starts talking about the Fab Four won the title shot. Lana Star gets on the mic and she more or less accuses David, like, I know you've been showing these people, you know, us getting embarrassed at the hotel. Like, yeah, I'm going to show it again. And then he does. Which, again, you know, goes to David McClain just doing stuff because David McClain can. I mean, he kind of undercuts the heels with that, but that's something that's never going to change. He's never going to look bad compared to them. So he shows them running up the bill. Then the mother truckers come out. In essence, well, let's get with Lana Star's mic work here first. I have stated with Lana Star, I'm not sure if she's firing this off the top of her head. I don't know if she is rehearsing lines in the back or whatever the case would be, but I never cared for her as a wrestler. As a manager, I think she's found her stride. This is probably a far better fit for her than being a wrestler ever was. Because here she can relate the personality of Lana Star, which, let's be honest, is probably what she was hired to do to begin with, and less of the in-ring stuff. But here she does not have to take the bumps. She can just be loud, obnoxious. She can be everything that the persona of Lana Star is supposed to be without having to deliver the goods bell to bell. And I think that works well for her. She is, well, I was going to say I think, but no, it's not I think. I know. She's the best manager that they have in WoW currently. Comparatively speaking, no one, I mean, in the WoW kayfabe universe, no one else has the record that she does. She's managed multiple championship reigns at this point. She's been featured in her groups. I say groups because it wasn't just the Fabulous Four. Before the last two seasons, it would have been Team Blondage. But her groups have largely been featured at the top of the show, and in prominent positions without the belts. I mean, with or without the belts. Her promos make more sense than the others. Angelica Dante, I don't know if we've heard her talk more than once. Samantha Smart talks a good game on the show, but I mean, ultimately it's meant nothing. And sometimes it's not relative to anything that's going on around her. It's just, talk. Sophia Lopez was at one point positioned as a number 2. You could argue that preceding these last 2 season incarnations, she might have been the number 1 manager that they had. But at this point, that leverage has completely shifted, and she went to being the number 2, and they drove that point home when the Las Bandidas and Miami Sweet Heat had their match. And it wasn't, it was very definitive, one and done, and they moved on. And that the Las Bandidas proved themselves, and along with Lopez, that they were secondary. But at this point now, her being babyface, that takes her out of the run-in too. So Lana Star pretty much sits head and shoulders above everybody else. And I can only assume that within this verbal interaction that they had, she had to have been okay with it. This might have been one of the best verbal jabs that I've heard happen on the WoW at all, but we'll get to that. So she comes out, gets on Dave McClain about showing the footage. He immediately shows the footage. I mean, I guess they already just had it queued up and ready to go. And then she starts talking about the bill that we saw take place over the last 2 weeks with the idiot staff at the hotel that a Lana Star apparently lives in. Just decided that, it's Lana Star because Holly Swag, got my personalities mixed up. Holly Swag was wearing the pink scarf and the hat and decided to spin around saying, I'm Lana Star. So because of that alone, they just stuck them into a hotel room and applied everything to Lana Star's bill. And the mother truckers who act like they've never seen a shower or food or a massage or anything else ran the bill up to $10,000. And then they leave. You know, now that I'm saying this out loud, the mother truckers on this show are just absolute pieces of crap when it comes to paying a bill. I mean, I know they're supposed to be the baby face of this, but, you know, there's a line that screenwriters use. It's like, you know, you put your characters in a situation, and it's important to note that in some cases the character is not a victim to the circumstances that happen. Unless, you know, generally speaking, somewhere there's a call to action to that character. Here, technically the call to action would be finding the purse, right? And it's the same rule applies. It's important to note that the mother truckers are not a victim of circumstance. They asked for this. In their actions, they asked for this, and they've done that from the moment they got there. They are awful with money. And like I said, if we're talking realistically, they're absolute pieces of crap when it comes to paying the bill. They're just like, nope, I don't want to pay it. What do you mean? I know you gave us free legal service, but pay? How dare you? Now, you have to go back and look at that whole Sophia Lopez deal with them. Yes, Lopez was the heel in that situation. But she came because they called. It's not like they didn't ask for another lawyer. They asked for her, who we know on TV is an absolute heel. But they wanted her. She flew out to wherever it was that they were, got them out of jail, and told them up front. It's not like she pulled it out of the blues like, all right, you're going to owe me. I don't see how that made Sophia Lopez the heel other than the fact that she's supposed to be a heel. If you tell me the circumstances that I'm dealing with up front, I mean, it's hard to be like, well, I didn't know this was coming. Why would you make me pay? And then it wasn't even asking for money. It's like, I need you to let. Now, granted, I understand in the wrestling environment, that's a sin. But come on, realistically, would you rather pay a bill of a lawyer or lay down in the ring? And it wasn't even a championship match. And they couldn't do that. And they skipped out on that bill. And let's go back a little further with the mother truckers. So when they first got there, pull up and they see Lana Starr and her crew in a broke down car. Now, I don't know why this rich group of people just had this broke down car, didn't have any sort of roadside assistance that they could just call or get an Uber or whatever the case may be. Nope, we got to ride with the truck. That shows how rich they are. But anyhow, so we get the mother truckers. They come out there and they ask for, they being the Fabulous Four, ask for a ride to the show. And rather than take money to tow the car and give them a ride, rather than to take what any normal human being would do, why you got tickets to WOW? Holy crap, mama. They take tickets to WOW over being paid. So now we bring it back up to current. Mistaken identity. They go in there and run up the bill. Not just run up the bill. We're going to run up the bill and leave the note on the mirror so you know that is us that did it. Lana Starr shows up on the next segment the following week. They hand her a comically large invoice. She wants to see a manager, as she should. I still don't understand how, they being the mother truckers knew that she was going if she hadn't checked in there yet. I mean, But anyhow, and her room number, where she's supposed to be, I guess it's supposed to be her alleged suite that she has every week or something. I don't know. So they get this, they send whoever off to go find the manager. Then one of them says Laurie, hey, I got the idea. They got security cameras here. We can find out who did it or something thereabout, which they never used, by the way. I don't know. Why was that line even in that? Never touched a security camera. Never showed footage of it. Never said, we found it on nothing. Just moved on. So the truckers come out. We're back current now. They're at ringside. And they bring, they had the papers for the bill. I don't remember seeing the pass off, but that's not important. And they're carrying all that. That's a case of mistaken identity. Like that is reason enough well, why should we pay? They just mistake me for you. What are you talking about? But the verbal jab that happened there was when Holly Swag told Lana, was like, well, that was because they mistake me for you, and you should take it as a compliment considering all the work you had done. Which, honestly, could be a line that would cut pretty close to the bone. I assume that Lana Starr was a good sport about it. Otherwise, I don't think the line would have been used. But, it could have been that she just went off the rails and decided to do one on her own. I don't know. Anyhow, it was still a good line, and a line that you don't often get on WoW at all. Lines like that are pretty stiff. Nope. But Lana Starr said, I cursed the day that I ever met you. And, then pretty much makes the offer of, I'll eat the cost of this bill if you give Miami Sweet Heat a title shot. Mother truckers you want us to put the belts up against this raggedy bill that you too poor to pay? Now, again, the mother truckers on this show have shown absolutely zero idea of the value of $1 and the absolute pieces of crap when it comes to paying the bill. So I'm not sure if as an adult who pays bills on a regular basis that I would be rooting for them in the first place. But they decided, all right, that's a good idea. We'll put this belts on the line versus the bill. Now, I'm glad that Lana Starr said, otherwise I'll just send you back to jail. I'm glad that was in there to give some kind of reason that they would have to do it, even though the truckers didn't seem bothered by it. They didn't seem like it was a big deal. It was just, ha, ha, ha. Well, we'll just beat you up again, that type of thing. Now, sure, the babyfaces should be confident, but it didn't come off like they were forced into this position. It didn't even feel like that coming out of the mouths of the commentators. Dave McCoy was like, yeah, that's a great idea. We'll just have belts versus the bill. I was like, why would that be a great idea? If I'm in the mother trucker's shoes, I don't think that's a great idea. Why would I want to give these two a title shot to begin with? As many times as they've been jumped by them, why would you want to even think about paying a $10,000 bill, which clearly they don't, otherwise they'd have paid it. It didn't seem like on their behalf they should be okay with this. Granted, they're in a position where, like I said, they're being more or less, even though they didn't harp on it very long, the wording says that they were being forced into doing this. But nothing else really supported that. The commentator, David McClain, didn't support it. Just sounded like, all right, we'll just do that. And the mother truckers didn't seem to care. The only people that looked in place of this scenario were the Fabulous Four, because she got what she wanted. I will pay this bill provided that you give us a title shot. But now a bill versus belt scenario kind of negates that. Because the way that she worded it, unless I heard it wrong, the way that she worded it sounded like she would pay it regardless of whether they won or lost. If you give us a shot at the belts, I'll eat the bill. That doesn't say that you win. I mean, it's just, okay. I just owe them 10 grand now. But anyhow, that was this segment. It did set it up. Like I said, the rock solid thing here were the Fabulous Four, either by body language or Lana's entire promo. She made this worthwhile because I did not care for the mother truckers. Even though I like Holly Swag's line, overall, I just like, I can't get behind the mother truckers here. They just seem like a pair of morons when they're on this show. Anyhow, so they make this match. The next segment is the tag team match featuring the Fierce Sisters taking on the Classmaster with Samantha Smart and Chainsaw. So the segment starts before the match. Samantha Smart comes out and with Classmaster doing her idiot sidekick routine, flipping pages through this book that she carries week in and week out and acting like there's something new that she never saw. Oh, wow. I mean, why is there no one to be able to have fun with that? I mean, that is such a layup for a babyface to talk about this person like she thinks she's some sort of genius, but she's really a doofus that walks around with a cap and gown and looking at a picture book that no one can see. You know, it's right there. It's on a silver platter. Anyhow, to say nothing of the fact that there should have been, I'm going backwards now, there should have been a heel commentator to point out the fact that the mother truckers are awful. They should be paying this bill. Why on earth would Lana even need to be negotiating her in the first place? They should be thanking her for giving them the opportunity not to pay it instead of going to jail. So, you know, layups, man. These are all layups. All right, so back to the match. Samantha Smart cuts her promo. Just like the previous promo, Dave McClain has to talk through it because he can't help himself. He's got to do that. And Samantha Smart says something to the effect of, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold. Now, I don't know why she's bringing out card references here. She's such a goddamn genius. She should be able to rope in something that's relative to what's going on, or at least a gimmick. But that didn't happen. And I'm not even sure what that meant in relation to this to begin with. But she basically says that, all right, well, you may notice that there's only one of us here, and, you idiots that don't know math, blah, 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 blah. And I've decided that what we need is brute force. Now, I had been under the assumption that Classmaster was brute force. No, apparently not. So she says she had been searching far and wide, and by far and wide, she was searching right in that locker room just like Coach Campanelli did a couple of months ago. And I did a worldwide search, and I found these people right here in Los Angeles. So that's pretty much what Samantha said. I searched far and wide to find a partner for the Classmaster, and I went 10 feet away and got Chainsaw. So Chainsaw comes out with her Faces apron, which I thought was cool at one point. Still has a good look, this Chainsaw. I can't take that away from her. And this is the team now. So they start off with, just visually, they start off with a little bit of comedy back there. Chainsaw's like trying to read the book, and Classmaster's like, no, like treating her like a pet or something. And then here come the Fierce Sisters, who come out dancing like they normally do, and it's kind of the same thing I said about what's her name? L Boogie, whatever, I can't even remember. Boogie. When she came out dancing, doing the same thing, because everybody's got a dancing gimmick, and she danced right by the entirety of Top Tier without blinking an eye or showing concern or anything like that. This is pretty much the same vibe I got with the Fierce Sisters. So, like, isn't Chainsaw supposed to be some sort of monster to be feared? The mother truckers, like a week ago, were terrified of this woman. The Fierce Sisters came out like, it's dancing time. With no fear of Chainsaw whatsoever. So I don't know what this brute force thing was, or how it didn't show itself in this match at all to me. It was just talk. So the sisters come out, and surprisingly enough, this time Roxy starts off the match against the Classmaster. I am pretty much going to say this in most cases that I see the Classmaster. She could be something there. She has a good look, but it largely feels like she is more concerned with or happy doing some version of comedy rather than to be looked at as a serious competitor there. I mean, yes, does she turn on the seriousness at points during the match? Yes, she does. But it's always wrapped around with the comedic bow. If that makes sense. She'll stop and she'll point at her head and, aha, I got brains. Before the bell even rings, she looks ridiculous with the cap and gown and all that stuff. And I can't even begin to answer when people ask me, what the hell is a classmaster? Like a teacher. I don't know. It's just something that they just decide to use and make up. But, okay, so the match begins with these two, and Roxy is starting this off, and I was shocked because we didn't see her do anything last time. So this is theoretically the most effort that we've seen. You could argue that is her in-ring debut, except for the 2 moves that she did the last time. And much like I said when it came out there, it starts off with her ducking underneath the Classmaster and dancing and doing it again. And then she gets a rear waist lock and she gets shoved off. That's when the Classmaster does the I got brains thing. And before she gets dropped to hold into the second rope and gets bounced on by Roxy. Now, I'm not going to continue to do the whole play-by-play, but that was basically how the match started. Most of this match was on Roxy's shoulders, which is a nice way to disguise how much she didn't know once she got in there and they put the heat on her. She got the chance to do like 2 or 3 moves, and then after that, they pretty much started to beat her up. So, Classmaster yanks the hair, pulls Roxy into the corner with chainsaw. I am getting under the impression that these rulers or yardsticks that Samantha Smart has are sawed in half or gimmicked already because they seem to snap pretty easily. As she tried to intervene or interfere with Roxy's foot, and the thing just like broke. Or maybe she was just pulling it too hard. I don't know. So Chainsaw's in there, and she's beating up on Roxy, as she should have. And, Roxy's pretty much selling. Like I said, the bulk of this match is Roxy Fierce. Until she gets the hot tag off to her sister, the newly crowned ass-kicking Foxy Fierce, because she's not scared of nothing or nobody anymore. I guess that's the closest that we get to some sort of evolution, because that's what happened. She came in like a house of fire, knocked down the Classmaster, which supposed to be some sort of a movable force, and then pretty much forearm shot Chainsaw, forearmed her again and again and again, and then finally gets her into the corner, hits her with a rear end, hits her with another one, tries it for a third time. I do like the facials that Chainsaw gave as Foxy was doing that, because even though she was being pushed around, she did not leave her feet. That was good. And she also started to look like she was getting annoyed rather than hurt. And I like that too. I just wish that they had been consistent with Chainsaw to where she wasn't looking like someone who was becoming normal on the roster. Before she walked in and she was like the monster on deck, and that position was pretty solid with her. And there was a lot of people that she could have gone through before she really started to lose. But once they, had her lose to Tiki, although be it with help, once they had her lose to Candy Crush, it was still fine. But once she got to the Beast, they were like, that ended her as some sort of aura. And then, outside of the mother truckers and no one else acting scared of her, she's lost some of the mystique that was attempted to be built around her. But anyhow, once she is annoyed enough, she grabs her rear waist lock and Foxy flies in and then hooks into a full Nelson. So she looks like she's kind of taunting Roxy as she yanks her around. She walks her close and then pulls her back. And as the referee stops Roxy stops Roxy from getting in, that's when they do the double teaming on the other side. I don't know what the hell Samantha Smart's doing yanking at these girls' boots for. If you're going to cheat, do something useful. I can see if she was doing it trying to keep her in place or something, but she just looks like she's just yanking around on their foot for some reason. Like that, take a swing at her with the thing in the abdomen or something. But look like you're making some effort other than that. That just, I'm not saying it's not useful in the grand scheme of things if she's keeping her from leaving, but it just doesn't come off that way on TV. It just looks like she's putting the yardstick around her foot for some reason. So anyhow, they do the distraction play on Roxy again to try to agitate her into getting into the ring. This time, Chainsaw takes a running start and runs across the ring and tries to nail Foxy, but she nails the Classmaster instead. Classmaster turns into an egg, and then she just knocks out and stays on the floor after this hit this clothesline she took. I was like, I didn't know that Chainsaw's clotheslines was that loaded. So they do that to explain the Classmaster not being able to help, apparently. And this is where I'm like, all right, this match is falling apart for me. And WoW just gave up on rules. So Roxy comes in, Foxy stays in, and they duck underneath a double clothesline, come back with a double rear end, then a double elbow, and then they apply a double crossface, and the referee allows all of this. Now, up until the crossface, I was perfectly fine. But not only does he allow the crossface, but he's actively down there in front of her face asking her, does she want to quit? I was like, now, again, how is this supposed to be fair? Where's the rules here? And I understand if the team isn't good enough to be able to maneuver in and out and do those type of things, but this is a stupid finish because it ignores credibility. There's going to be a time probably 2 or 3 weeks from now where the referee's going to be like, oh, no, I can't have you in the ring at the same time. But then you have a moment like this. And they've done this multiple times now where they allow 2 people in the ring to do something and, they both get the pin or whatever. Every once in a while, you can get away with that. But it's just become this regular thing that we see almost week to week now. And it points out the fact that there's no rules here. Just, as long as this fits the narrative of the story we're trying to tell, we'll let stuff slide. So he's down there and he's asking her, does she quit? And this is another one of those cases of like, I would have to root for the heel here. Because why would I sympathize with 2 people providing a submission hold on one? Even if they are the babyface, it would be different if they had been beaten up and it was, this was a matter of revenge or something like that. But there's no revenge story here. I mean, every once in a while they'd bring up, well, she put Foxy through a wall or whatever the case was. But she's supposed to have gotten revenge for that by now. And the last time that they had a match. Here, I mean, it's just, we're doing this because we can, and there's no real ruling behind it. So they both have this crossface on. The referee is asking that she give up, which is ridiculous. And like I said, I don't even know why would I be rooting for these 2 doing this. Because if the 2 of you can't make this woman tap out, then there's a problem. So, like I said, that was the point where the match started falling apart for me. It had been fine up until this point. Before Chainsaw officially quits, here comes Siren, Angelica Dante, and, I guess Samantha Smart called him in, and magically Classmaster's back up on her feet at the same time as they show up. So Angelica Dante is hitting these girls with her fan. I don't know why on earth would she do that. And what is supposed to be a serious beatdown, she's hitting somebody with a fan. And not only is she hitting with a fan, but Foxy's selling it. So, I mean, at least Roxy was getting kicked in and beat down by Chainsaw and Classmaster. And regardless of what I think about Classmaster, at least she's a big enough woman that she can look threatening and dangerous in that environment. But Siren comes in and shoves the girls off and starts beating up on Foxy and Roxy. You know, they're pretty much taking turns over there, just stomping either one down. Smart is doing what Smart should be doing here. She's not beating up on anybody, but she's taunting them. She's in their face. She's saying, she's pointing them out, just laughing at their misery and their pain. Now, in that regard, she did great because she's not supposed to be physically threatening. If she got a cheap shot in, I could understand it, but in this case, she was doing what the manager is supposed to do. I am just verbally taunting you because I'm better than that, and I'm better than you, and whatever the case be. And Dante, I don't know what she was doing. But and then the end. The referees come in, and they get the heels off of the Fierce Sisters. They all leave. They're not out of eyesight yet, and then you got Fox and Roxy back up on their feet, raising their hands in victory. Almost like nothing happened. Roxy looks like she's worn out. Foxy doesn't look like she's bothered at all. Like, weren't you just beat up like a couple of seconds ago? All she looks like is she's just out of breath from a normal, regular match. Where's the sale here? You just got beaten up by 4 or 5 people. You shouldn't even be up right now raising your hand. God. This infuriated me. You couldn't sell this for a minute. You couldn't be on your knees, like holding your ribs or whatever. They were just stomping you. But yeah, they don't look any worse for wear. Like I said, if the closest thing that you got to selling at that point is Roxy, but some of that looks like worry and just being out of breath. But yeah, they had that moment, and that was it. I was like, oh man, I don't know how Foxy became this super badass, but she is. So the next segment is a preview of the main event, the title shot. We go to the following segment / match, and that is Las Bandidas taking on vsHolidead and Chantilly Chella, which was, I felt, a good match. I enjoyed this match. Probably because of the participants involved. I still feel bad for the Bandidas. I really do, because it's like whatever they had going for them at one point, that's long gone now. They perform well, and they probably perform better than they should, because they put over people very well, rather than being able to be the team and focal point, which I would have liked to have seen. I actually would have just liked to have seen a different heel team in the top position, but we'll get to that eventually. So the Bandidas come out. They do their thing. They look good. They function well as a team, in my opinion. But surprisingly enough, vsHolidead and Chantilly Chella do well. I still maintain that they have not done anything significant to help explain why they're together or had fun with the idea that they're some sort of odd couple. The end of this match is the closest that we've got to that. But it should have been explained by now. Like, I don't recall them ever saying this is why they got together, or them having a backstage segment, or and not just because vsHolidead certainly developed a conscience. Why are they still together? There was material there to be used that they just never seemed to get into. And it's a shame that never happened. Maybe I'll be surprised when they walk into the next season. They'll suddenly have these segments that they, got together and illustrate who they are and let their personalities shine. But as of right now, it's just pretty much them as a team for some unknown reason. and the fact that they hung in there. But they come out, they do their, they do their individual personalities. Chantella's dancing and Holidead is Holidead. And, little bit more lighthearted, but she comes out more or less determined and focused. Chella throws the cape in Holidead's face, and, she's kind of like slightly annoyed. I mean, in an amusing way, annoyed. Not annoyed like I'm mad at you. Just like, your best friend's giving you some crap, and you're like, get out of here. That type of thing. They start off with some unique offense. The Bandidas, not the Bandidas, the Chella and Holidead. I don't know why I started off with that. She jumps into the arms of the Bandidas. Chella does. They catch her. Of course, Holidead now is instituting the tandem moves, and she gives her partner a kick in the back, which takes them both down. Then she picks up Chantilly Chella and spins her around like in an airplane spin, causing her to kick both of the Bandidas. Then she repositions her and uses her as a battering ram. And then she slings her from one side to the next, to who's that? Sanchez. And Rose gets put out, and then she's finally body slammed on top of Sanchez. So, I mean, yes, that was an exceptionally long period of time for this team to be just outside of tagging in and out. But I felt like it was fine here because the match had pretty much jump-started. And they hadn't, I guess it officially game, but there was no one out of the ring yet. You see what I'm saying? So it was a nice way to start it off. I mean, it stretches the rules, but like I said, WoW seems to be just losing all patience with having rules to begin with. But it was fun little moment there. So anyhow, surprisingly, Holidead is the one that they get the heat on. She comes in after Chella and she starts beating up on Sanchez, demonstrating the power, hoisting her around and everything. But then Holidead is cut off. And how is she cut off? She is like the Road Warrior spot. You can't hurt us, but we can hurt ourselves. She tries to take a charge into the corner to nail Sanchez with a shoulder block. Sanchez gets out of the way, and Holidead fires herself right shoulder first into the steel post. Now she's selling the arm, and she stayed with that sell. I mean, she sold that thing pretty much the remainder of the match. Good on her. This is the type of thing that, the Fierce Sisters probably should be paying attention to. So Sanchez gets the arm, and she targets it immediately. She sees that her opponent has hurt herself, and she goes for an arm wringer. She pulls the arm and shoulder blocks. She drapes it over the top rope. Holiday looks like she's trying her best to fight it, but she can't. Her arm is not hurting and it's weak. She's trying to get out of it, but she can't maneuver herself around to get shoulders. Wrong appendage. She can't get her elbow to nail her opponent. Angel Rose comes in. She starts kicking, and then she gets on the arm. They were doing some good work here. Both as tandem and just cheating and watching out for their partner while they was in the corner, making sure that the opponent didn't leave. Angel Rose whips Holidead out, applies like an arm lock. Then she starts stomping on it. I mean, it was a very focused attack. And Holidead is selling it, and she's selling it, and she's selling it. This was a match that, for me, made a lot of sense. Even though it's not likely that, you have Holidead be the one to do the sell. But because of the size of the Bandidas, it's not like it stretches credibility. So they continue to work on Holidead. They cut off her chances to get to her partner for a tag. Rose runs across there and just nails, tries to nail Chella. Looks like she was about to put her right hand into her face for a second. So she backs off. The ref's like, hey, you got to get back out there. This is why I say they shouldn't have double submission holds and things like that, because when you're trying to stretch the rules for one match, you got to be consistent. So anyhow, he's trying to get Chella back out while Rose is taunting her. And the ref's like, hey, look, you got to go. Rose is back there just running the mouth. Chella's like, yo, look, turn around, or whatever the case. And now they're stopping her in the ring, and she's looking frustrated because he's not listening as she should. They get Holidead up, and this is where Holidead gets her break spot, or at least she's able to create some distance for herself. They try to do a double suplex. She stops them from doing a double suplex by, shifting the weight down and then turning it into a double DDT. Still looks like she's in pain. Did not forget the arm. She's struggling. She's trying to get out and get to her partner while she's desperately trying to fight the pain. She makes the tag, and then here comes Chella. Does a cartwheel and breaks up a double clothesline. Then she starts taking on both of them. Like I said, this would normally not seem to work because Chella's, fairly small. However, in this instance, it does not stretch credibility because she's about the same height. I mean, they may be a little thicker than Chella is, but, this is all relative in size. So she's out quicking both of them. She's doing one thing and then hitting another and kicks back and forth between the two. She tries to get a pin coming off the second rope on Sanchez. But Rose is still there, and she's able to, break it up. Well, it was a double drop kick on both of them. But she went for the pin on Sanchez. I don't know why. I don't even remember who the legal person was. Holidead comes in to help her partner. Catches, Rose with a spine buster. And still sells the arm. Didn't just do it and forget. She still sold that arm. Then she puts Sanchez up on her shoulders. And they basically do the Steiner Bulldog, or at least their version of it. Chella comes off the top, takes Sanchez with a face plant down to the mat, and then they win. And it works for me. Rose did try to get in there and save her partner. She just was too little too late. It's good timing on that. And after the move was done, Holidead goes down, still holding the arm. And pretty much stayed in that for the most part of this match. Now, the end is where like I said, this is the closest thing that we got to them having some sort of fun with the odd couple pairing. At the end, we got Chella celebrating. She's doing her dance and, all that good stuff. And she's trying to get Holidead to get into the spirit and dance with her. And lo and behold, Holidead does a little bit of a dance. She breaks out the robot. And he's like, all right, that's enough. So even though she gave a little bit of that, she still stayed true to who Holidead is and was. So that one I was good with. Next segment, the mother truckers in the locker room, in their private personal locker room, I guess, because we got all these bungee cords strapped around every locker. I hate the set design for a while with these things because it's just so ridiculous. But they're talking about the lies that the Fabulous. I was like, what lies did they tell? They said you ran up the bill. Where's the lie that's told there? Yet another reason. I'm like, who am I supposed to be rooting for here? The mother truckers are baby faces by default, but in a real world setting, it's like, come on, man. Why would I be rooting for these two? These two knuckleheads just are terrible with money and have no respect for anybody else's time, money, or value. Anyhow, so they carry on rambling about lies. We'll move on from that because, they're being idiots. Then we go to the Fabulous Four on the other half of this. And, no, I'm sorry. That was something else. I was reading my notes wrong. They was talking about the Fabulous Four telling them lies. Or telling lies about them. That's what I meant. Although I do believe there is a segment that I was thinking about that comes after this next one. So we promote the next match and the segment following the Mother Truckers. Then we go to the next segment, which includes the match. That's Genesis versus Katarina Jinx. Now, here we go back to the inconsistency of WoW and how some people are presented. I believe it was a week ago that we had Animal Instinct in a heel form. I mean, was it a week? It hadn't been that long. I mean, let me flip through some of these notes and see when was the last time we saw Animal Instinct do anything. Or just them in general. Okay, I want to say about 2 weeks. About, we'll say 3 weeks from this episode, where they were heels. And they were clearly heels. Every time we've seen them, that they've been heels. They had that, but then but Katarina, and this clearly had to be an insert out of the WoW vault somewhere. I'm assuming maybe before she realized that she's supposed to be a heel. I don't know. But she's coming out there, pretty fans friendly. And like I said, up until this point, television-wise, she's been a heel. So this could be confusing to some. We'll put it that way. Now, who those people are is, who they are. Whether they're kids or people who believe a bit more than others. But, yeah, the presentation is not consistent. I am already predisposed to not really want to see the models and the actresses and all that wind up in the wrestling ring. Now I try to give credit where it's due, but I'm sorry. As good as some of them are, and admittedly some of them are better than I thought they would be, they're still relatively basic, and they probably should not be on national TV, regardless of how good they look visually. But anyhow, I also put a note when I was thinking about this match as I was watching it, seeing Genesis and Katarina Jinx go against each other. I said, this match is like going to Six Flags and watching the stunt show. Not that they were doing a bunch of stunts. I mean that in the sense of, I don't know if any of y'all ever gone, let's say the Indiana Jones stunt show like they had in Universal, or I think it was Disney, one of them, Florida parks. Back in the day, they had that, and it's a fun thing to watch. You used to get to see them, grab the rope and swing through fire and jump off the high dive and all that stuff like that. And there's a lot of oohs and ahs. But overall, you are not invested in the show in the same way that you might be invested in the character in the movie. The character of Indiana Jones, if you saw some of the movies, not these last two, they should have never been made. But the character of Indiana Jones, you have him on an adventure. He gets to converse with people. You get to see his personality. You get to see the tension of how will he get out of this thing. Why is this important? What's the danger, et cetera, et cetera. You get all of that stuff when you watch that character. They can take that character to a stunt show, but you're not going to be invested in the character because there's nothing there to invest to, is the reason I bring that up. You know of Indiana Jones, but there's no story, generally speaking, to the stunt show other than something they might have put together loosely so that the stunt show can take place. But you're not going to have an emotional moment or, him relating his worries, his fears, and then overcoming the threat that is so imposing that the audience watching is like, how is he ever going to do this? that generally does not exist there because that's not what it's there for. You watch it and you see the people do the thing. And like I said, it might be a loose story available, but it's not capable of doing what a movie does. This match was that. We know of Genesis. We know of Katarina Jinx. We know who these people are because we see them week to week on WoW. We know some of Genesis' motivations, but I mean, like in this match, they talk about the breakup of Exile like it just took place, which is another reason I said they probably dragged this out of their vault. We know Katarina Jinx uses cat puns when she's doing a promo, but aside from that, I mean, it is very, very vague who they are, what their motivation is, and why we should care about it. That's what I mean when I say this match was a stunt show. It was fun to watch, but there was no investment in it. And that's kind of the tail of the tape of a lot of WoW matches. They're fun to watch. And you know who the people are. But by and large, there's very little emotional investment. And the times that they do have some sort of emotional investment, the story seems out of whack. Look no further than Americana trying to get revenge for something you never saw. Look no further than Ariel Sky groveling to her former boss after she gets beats up and plays abuse victim. Look no further than the mother truckers accepting WoW tickets instead of getting paid. You know, I could probably go on and on and on with that. They have a bunch of them. The times that they do try to tell some kind of story angle is like it's almost a pointless thing. Look no further than Princess Ozzy, who completely ignored her friend, but you're supposed to be on her side in this. Sometimes it's like an alien came down from space and they just said, write a wrestling show is supposed to be good people and bad people, and they just did it without having any idea how human emotion works. Now that I say that out loud, maybe it's not an alien. Maybe it's just being fed through AI and they just say, write me an episode of WoW. And the AI just has no idea how human emotion works. And so you get this. You know, I might have to stick with that theory. That sounds like it is a sound thing that could be happening. We don't have to write it. Just put this crap in here. It'll spit it out. It's just as good. So, anyway, this is clearly edited from other material. There's ideally, I guess they had Katarina Jinx being the de facto babyface here. Even though, like I said, a week or so ago, it was she was a clear heel. Here, not so much. It is like she's supposed to be the babyface in this environment, even though it's not expressly said. Like I said, the commentators talk about the Genesis Exile deal like it just took place. And then they start referencing the winning streak that Genesis is on. And I wrote down, I was like, what winning streak? She just lost twice. It's like, again, yet another reason. Well, like, I'm pretty sure this got yanked out of the vault somewhere. I could not, express enough that this match just came off to me like a stunt show match. It was just an exhibition of moves between two people because there was nothing to be invested in or care about, and the fans out there just seemed like they was just cheering the moves and clapping. They did not seem like they cared one way or the other who did what to who or who won. It was just like we know we're supposed to applaud and we know we're supposed to clap. Other than that, that crowd looked like it was just completely dead. So getting to the end of it, like I said, there was nothing here to root for. There was nobody to root against. It was nice to watch, but it really had nothing behind it whatsoever. And honestly, neither one of them, I'm sorry to say it, but neither one of them are good enough on their own to have had a match and get those fans charged up just on the basis of the match. I mean, I said about the Mighty Mites several weeks back, they were like the ones that I looked at as like they were able to get the audience and people that was watching in the room with me at work charged up about the match, not knowing anything about them. I do not think Genesis nor Katarina Jinx collectively have that same quality. Unfortunately, they just don't seem to have that. At least not in this match they didn't. So getting towards the end, this is obviously chronologically wrong. Like I said, they're talking about her being undefeated. I don't know why they didn't run this match back a couple of months ago when that would have mattered. And when she was trying to build her streak up, that would have seemed like it would have been a better place for it. But the match is won by Genesis with a full Nelson bomb, a full Nelson buster. So that was it. So that's pretty much all. She gets the win. She smiles, and there you go. That's pretty much all you can say about it. And Genesis tells the ref to raise her hand, and then she's like, "All right, that was that." The next segment past that, because like I said, that segment wasn't anything, special. I'm sorry. It was not. Following that, we got Lana Star talking about her master plan has worked, and I'm assuming some of this is out of sequence too because she's in a different outfit. This is leading into their championship match and becoming a 4-time tag team champions. Originally, I thought, like, well, how would this have been her master plan? But, I'll go with the idea that it was her master plan following them realizing that it was the mother truckers that did what they did. And again, I don't know why they brought up security in the segment or mentioned it when that was never even came into play. So the next segment following Lana Star talking about her plan. Preview for next week's show, and then we follow that with the main event, the match for the tag team titles. Miami Sweet Heat, who comes out in full force with Lana Star, Vicky, Lynn, McCoy, and Penelope Pink, and Dave McClain does nothing about it. I really question that sometimes. Like, I do not understand the logic that he has whenever it just feels appropriate, I guess, he'll enforce rules. Or I'm going to bar you from ringside. We've seen him do that. Or I'm going to ban you from coming out here. Or so whatever the case. We've seen him do all these things. So why on earth would he allow this when it's almost an absolute certainty that with how many is on the outside? Vicky, Lynn, Lana Star, Penelope. With 3 people at ringside, something's going to happen. I don't get it. I don't understand that logic. Why he would allow it in some cases, and in other cases, like I'm powerless to do anything about it. So anyhow, like I said, they come out in full force, and it's just like, okay. And then the mother truckers come out there like, all right, well, there's no problem. They don't say anything about it. Or Steffi Slays, not but a few weeks ago, came out, saw she was outnumbered, and like, nope, and got somebody to be out there ringside with her. Now, she still lost the match, if I remember right. But the fact is that she was at least smart enough to like, nah, I'm not doing that. There's precedent for saying, no, I'm not going out here in this environment where I'm completely outnumbered and management's not doing anything about this. and the management sits there on a week-to-week basis. You'd have to be a complete idiot not to know that something was going to happen. So I guess Dave McClain in this environment is a complete idiot. Now, as this is going on, during the match, because they brought it up earlier in the show, Nigel Zane shows the late, great, Fabulous Moolah Championship belt. Now, I say late, great because that's how they referred to her. I know that he was petitioning to have her name like reinstated in the WWE. I don't think she was taken out the Hall of Fame, but her name put back on the Battle Royal some years ago, which come on. I thought that was just a fool's errand. Not calling him a fool, but just saying it was a pointless venture to try to do that petition, just veering off for a second to address that. It was a pointless thing to do. Now, I'm not saying that as a wrestler that she was, bad or whatever, because she does have her place. And yes, she was valuable to the wrestling business. But I don't understand the concept. Both things can be true. I don't know why people seem to not want to accept that sometimes. Like, both things can be true. Benoit was a fantastic wrestler. Does not make him not a murderer. Both of those things can be true here. But yeah, I mean, I can appreciate the sentiment of trying to save her name. But if one person got dealt wrong by the accusations of what they did, if just one had that, then it's not worth doing. It's just not. Princess Victoria has stuck to that story from day one. She has not changed that. But anyhow, this is where I'm going with this. When I mentioned this several months, maybe over a year back, I said something to the effect that it's not the WWE's job to prop the Fabulous Moolah up or put her name on anything or anything. They don't owe her estate or anything. And it's the same the other way around. The estate doesn't owe them anything. They had a working agreement. She got paid for her services, and that's the way that goes. That being said, that they do stuff because they feel like it. They're not obligated to do any of that. Put anybody's name on anything. They felt like doing it. Didn't work because the sponsors didn't like the person. They pulled it. End of story. But that said that to say this. At that time, I was like, he's on a platform to allow that to be talked about. He's on Wow's television. If they want to talk about the Fabulous Moolah there, then that's it. That's what they should do. If he wants to try to do something to praise her name or have the Fabulous Moolah annual tournament or whatever he wants to, that's the way he should do that. It's not like there's no TV available to him. He's on television. There is an outlet for it, as shown in this episode. And he actually sat there and he showed the belt and he talked about Fabulous Moolah for a moment and the history of it, all of which is true. I don't debate him on any of that stuff. Moolah had a lot of value to women's wrestling over the decades. That can't be argued. So the fact that it was shown here, brought up here, the platform that he and Dave McClain have available to them to talk about the Fabulous Moolah was used to actually speak about Moolah. I want to say bravo. I applaud him. Regardless of what I think about the Fabulous Moolah, I applaud the fact that he put his money where his mouth was. Because my statement then was, you got your own platform, not WWE's job. He put it on here. Good for him. Good for him. So that becomes something that they can do for a while. Assuming everybody else wants to do it. That's a different topic for a different day. So anyway, we go back to the match. We go to Dave McClain talking on commentary saying, Star is cheap for not wanting to pay that $10,000 bill. I heard that, and then I said, who is this supposed to relate to? I mean, I can understand that they said, they bought food at Five Guys or In and Out or whatever, the Whataburger or something, and the bill was like $30. And then they say, oh, Lana Star's cheap for not wanting to pay that bill. All right, that I might be able to buy. This is $10,000. And I don't know what kind of persons he hangs out with on a day-to-day basis. Regular people find $10,000 a significant amount of money. So to be like, oh, I mean, even in jest, I get that he possibly was joking. I don't know. But the point is, like, I don't know who a statement like that as the commentator is supposed to relate to. Most people out there are not going to be to relate to. You should just brush off a $10,000 bill. Like, oh, she's cheap for not paying that. I was like, what? I was like, are we supposed to not like the mother truckers or something? So anyway, yeah, like who's supposed to get that? Who do they think of watching this show? I mean, maybe y'all have it. I don't. I don't have $10,000 of disposable income at any given point. So yeah, that just struck me. I was like, I don't know where that was going with that comment. So let's just get into the match. Mother truckers come out. They don't acknowledge the fact that there's 3 people at ringside, 2 of them in the ring, and they're completely outnumbered, and the odds have never been good for them when they was in this situation. They just walk into danger every time it happens. But this match starts off, it starts hot as the referee holds up the belts. Scheinberg. The second that they come down, Mother Truckers attack the Miami Sweet Heat. So the baby faces start off, and the heels have to fight back. So I don't know what that was about. The more I talk about this matches, the more I'm like, maybe Miami Sweet Heat were the baby faces there. I don't know. So anyway, they survived the attack, and then now it's dwindled down to Lindsay and Swag in the ring, and they're, doing their thing. Swag is doing her, I'm the scrappy little fighter deal, comes down on her like a couple of times with the Thesz press and just swinging punches and whatnot. Now, that probably got the audience up a bit. They do start to cheer. Like I said, I'm pretty sure her flailing away on Lindsay probably did a lot for that. Then we get Big Rig in there. They do their tandem move, and Lindsay's still caught in this thing. As that keeps going for a little bit until we cut Mama off. So I can't remember. I think Vicky, Lynn, McCoy, grabbed the foot of Swag and got her off the apron so she couldn't do anything. And then that's when not the truckers, the twins started to gain control. So after Mama does her super kick to the side of Lindsay's head and she kicks out, that's when Laurie comes in and they cut Mama off and they take control of the match. She gets past, runs into the ropes, and gets hit with a double shoulder block from the twins. And now we know that we got the twins in control. They're beating up on Big Rig Betty for a little bit. I wrote down that the fact that Holly Swag started the match was probably a bad sign for them. Because it's a little bit out of practice for what the mother truckers are. Usually it's the other way around. Mom starts tagging the Swag. She gets the heat on her. She fights back. She makes the tag. Big Rig makes the comeback, hits the stunner, goes for the pin. That's overall, with a few variations, what a mother truckers match seems to be. Here, the heat was on Big Rig, and Swag is there, trying to root her mom on, and so she can survive this beatdown that the twins are giving her. They're choking her out. You got Star and Vicky Lynn and Pink verbally taunting her. The twins are choking her, and they're doing, tandem moves. One of them didn't go so good. It was, what did they used to call that? The hardest. Was that the whisper in the wind? When Jeff would springboard off of Matt's back and give him the leg Larry in the corner. I can't remember. I think it might have been the whisper in the wind. I don't know. But yeah, this one didn't go too good for the twins. Lindsay got up there. She tries to come off of Laurie's back, lost her footing, and had to give the clothesline on the way down. That could have been uglier than what it was, but fortunately she survived it. Probably not the move that they need to do going forward. It may not be the best thing for them, I don't know. But Mom survives that, and then here comes Swag. Swag gets into the ring, and she gets almost immediately cut off by Lindsay, but she's still fighting back. Laurie comes in there, tries to get a clothesline in on Holly while Lindsay's holding her. But Holly ducks down, and then Laurie clotheslines her own sister. Swag gets up and gives a series of kicks to punches and back slaps to Laurie. Takes Lindsay down. And for whatever, I'm not going to say for whatever reason. Actually, I have to give Lana Starr some credit again in that she made herself very visible to the referee. Because my initial feeling was, why did he stop what he was doing? Because he was already in the middle of the count after Swag hit her finish. But Lana gets up on the apron quickly. She sticks her head through the ropes and reaches out for him. So I was like, she did everything that she could do as a heel to draw this guy's attention as much as we can justifiably have. I mean, it's wrestling, and it's got to be, you got to give a little bit of a concession to implausibility. So she's in there, and she's distracting the ref. He's trying to push her out of the ring. Holly Swag gets up like, hey, yo, what's going on? Vicky Lynn's on the other side. She grabs the championship belt, winds up, brings it across Swag's head. Well, not really her head. I mean, but Swag sold it great. I mean, or maybe, it looked like it hit under her arm, but it might have got up into the head. But yeah, she sold it great. She jumped up into that thing and just took a big bump. Boom. Goes down like, selling it like death. Penelope Pink, meanwhile, is up on the top of the not the turnbuckle, but she's on the ropes on the opposite side corner of Lana Starr. So the referee's getting it from both of them, which is great. Well, because I know I give Scheinberg a hard time, but in this instance, it gives him an excuse to be there in their faces. Now, you can argue whether or not he should have got it from the pin in the first place, but like I said, Lana Starr in this case made it plausible in that she is doing everything possible to try to get this guy attention and get him to stop. Getting up on the apron, yelling at him, grabbing, it was a grab with the right hand, at least to just make body contact, but get him so he would just stop what he was doing and look at me. And why are you counting? How dare you? This isn't fair. It's not the right person or whatever. So all of that helped the situation. Like I said, you gotta stretch the reality a little bit because it's wrestling, but we do that. It was believable in their universe. So after the belt comes across Swag's head, Lindsay gets on top, and boom, 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 we got 4-time Wild Tag Team Champions. So now let me start with, I would not have pushed for this. I admit that. I do think that there should be another team in the top spot right now just to change up the field because, man, it's not like this is being built off of fan reaction or the fact that they just drive up ratings because they're the champions or something like that. We all know that's not happening. is built off of the story that whoever's in the back wants to tell, and the people that they want them to be the champs. But in any case, despite the fact that I think that there should have been another heel team there, no one else was being built. There's probably no other heel team that could have gotten to this spot right now unless it would have been considered a fluke win. And I'm not mad that the Mother Truckers, Miami Sweet Heat won. I'm not mad about it. I just think that it should be somebody else in this spot right now. They've had it 3 times. It's not like they can't get a 4th one later. You know, this is why I say that some of these people, they need things to do. They need other interactions that go on in this show. They can't constantly revolve themselves around the championships, and the angles are so bad. I can see why they would want to be around the championships because the angles are terrible. But they got to have something else to do. Otherwise, this is going to get old. And I'm sure for some people out there, it might be getting there that way already. But I don't have a problem with them having the 4th-time championship, provided that they're at least going to get ready to build a team to get the big win off of them. Speaking of the big win, I mean, for what was allegedly an impromptu match, we got confetti coming from the ceiling for the heel team. Again, I'm not sure that Miami Sweet Heat is the heels in this situation. Like, why is he celebrating them? Why did he have confetti up there in the first place? But why is he celebrating them? They're the heel team. They just cheated to win. You just saw them do it. Why would you be doing this? When you've had baby faces win championships, regain championships, retain championships, and they ain't get any of that. Why is Miami Sweet Heat and the Fabulous Four getting confetti? Are they not the heels here? And it's not. I could understand it if they were surprised, like, what, they got confetti, or if people came in and shoot confetti guns because Lana Star paid them or something like that, and they brought cake and spark something. If it was her dime, I would understand it. But here is like, congratulations, guys, you did it for the 4th time. Confetti. I don't know. I don't know who you are supposed to walk away from this being happy for. I mean, the Fabulous Four saved themselves a $10,000 bill that they didn't run up. They won the championships back for the 4th time, and visually speaking, it must be something good because they got confetti. And they're closing out the main event. Why am I booing them? Other than the fact that they were aggressive in the match. Why? And they didn't even jumpstart the match. The babyfaces jumpstarted the match. Why am I booing them? All of this is babyface stuff. All of it. They saved their money for something that they didn't even do. They won the championships. They got attacked and still overcame. Why am I booing them? Now, yes, you got the end. That's the only thing that we can insert into this situation that allowed them to be heels that they were supposed to be. In that you had Lana Star distracting. You had Penelope Pink distracting. You had Vicky Lynn actively and physically interfere. Other than that, I mean, you could make the argument that Miami Sweet Heat didn't do anything wrong. You could legitimately argue that. I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure there'll be heels again by the time, the next season rolls around. But I honestly don't know why they are positioned like this and we are supposed to just like, I hate these guys. Anyhow, that was WoW. That was the full review of the show. And I wish I had access to those Nielsen ratings. I really do. I'm gonna reach out to Nielsen. I'm gonna check and see, do they even check for these anymore? Because the last 3 sites that I checked into for viewership data, they don't even register. WoW doesn't have any presence on there at all. I don't know if they're just not feeding out their information anymore, but yeah, it's like you could type in almost any other show and it may pop up. WoW, nothing. WoW superheroes, nothing. WoW women of wrestling, nothing. It's amazing to me. So anyhow, like I said, that was the show. Now, generally speaking, I will be going through what the next episode is. However, as of this recording, have already seen the next episode, and by the time this is released, you would have seen it too. I saw it a couple of days prior at work. They got it in a day early, so I just decided to scan through it. And it features that stupid fan appreciation thing. Now, the idea of a fan appreciation match is fine, but they should have called this what it was. It was a recap show. That's all it was. A match, well, actually two, thrown into the show so that would buff out the time. And the match that was supposed to take place, the episode I just reviewed, is the match that took place on this one. So you get to see the last stand of Animal Instinct, the last stand of the Tonga twins taking on Animal Instinct. You also, I guess I should say, there's spoilers here. I'm not reading the press release, but this is what I watched. Animal Instinct taking on the Tonga twins. The first, because they decided to do two fan appreciation matches. The first one is Abilene Maverick versus the Beast, which you already saw. This is the episode where Maverick cheated to retain. Well, she always cheated to retain. Did the brass knuckles thing. Next, the match was supposed to be the Classmaster and versus Santana Garrett. That I don't even remember if that was in the press release, quite honestly, but that was listed for being aired, and I saw that. And then there's the main event, which was the Mother Truckers versus Miami Sweet Heat. So you got them 2 weeks in a row. Now, the only thing that I disliked about that, I guess I shouldn't go because it's going to make me start reviewing that, but I'll just say that the two matches that they got both came out of the same episode of show, so it was like that felt very lazy to me. Like y'all didn't dig very far to find anything. You just got that. So yeah, we'll just leave that as it is. Oh yeah, and the match that they had advertised in the press release was Reina Del Rey taking on, well, they didn't even list who they had taken on. They just said that Beach Lover Sandy vsHolidead, Genesis, and Feline Katarina, Jinx in action. So that could have been any number of things. So whatever match that it was going to be there ain't there now. So no need for me to do any predictions. It would be pointless. I already saw the show. I know who won and lost. You know half of who won and lost just right now. And so on that note, we're going to close this up. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. I do appreciate it. Do all the things that help this podcast grow. Like, share, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you listen to this on greater podcast platforms, subscribe to that as well. Leave a review or a rating. And if you don't know where to find it, you can always go to WPNWrestling.com. This is the center point of everything. All the videos that go back to 2013 are there. Matches and interviews and extra stuff. All run there on a 24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week basis. I did it first. And all podcast episodes drop there as well. So there's everything that you get all at one point. And, of course, it links to whatever social medias that the WPN may exist on. And that being said and done, folks, thank you for tuning in. As always, I appreciate your time and your ear. And this is Mr. Green saying that this is Mr. Green saying so long, and we will see you on the next go-round. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.